the Knicks signed Myles Powell. And what I was when I was thinking about him going undrafted, I just thought to myself, damn, if he goes undrafted, how disheartening is it for college players that think they have a little bit of a shot at the NBA? I mean, Myles Powell was an elite college player. He was the Jerry West Award winner, best shooting guard in the country, Big East Player of the Year, first team All-American, first team All-Big East, beat a bunch of ranked teams. If you're a guy that's in college and you even have a glimmer of hope that you can make it to the NBA, Myles Powell going undrafted just shattered your heart. Yeah, because a guy like that to go undrafted is pretty crazy.
I was going to say, if you want to list all of his accomplishments in college, that could be the whole podcast, is listing everything that he achieved at Seton Hall, because he had a career that not many college players ever have. He's arguably either 1 or 2 in Seton Hall history, depending on who you ask, because Terry DeHeer also had a great career there. Me and my dad had that argument a couple times. I think it's Powell for sure, but, you know, it's sad what the NBA has done the past few years, because I get it. You want to bring young guys in and have them in your building as soon as possible, but when you look at some of the best young talents in the league the past few years, look at a guy like Jason Tatum, who was a budding superstar. When he was drafted, he was considered that, and now he's in year 3, and that's where you're seeing the biggest jump. Same thing with Brandon Ingram. He was drafted by the Lakers, was expected to be a superstar. 3 years later, we're looking at him as an all-star level talent. So as much as you want to get these young guys in your building as soon as possible, what's the difference between having them there or drafting a guy who's been in college the past 4 years and can come in and have that experience and leadership that a guy like Brandon Ingram or Jason Tatum won't really get the same experience at the NBA level?
Like
I see both sides of it. But
yeah, like Myles Powell to me can be a guy that in 4 years we see him winning a 6th Man of the Year.
Yeah.
Like I think he's that good.
It should not be a death sentence to college basketball players to go to school for 4 years. I think it's really disheartening, like you mentioned, to see something like that happening, not only to him, to a guy like Marcus Howard as well, who had a great career.
Marcus Howard, I get it a little bit because he's a little bit undersized and scrawny for his position. Like Myles Powell, he has muscle to him. Yeah. So that I don't get more. But you look at these players that were drafted above Powell. Cassius Winston, I loved him in college, but he was not better than Powell. Nico Mannion, the Warriors drafted him based off potential. But he's not better than Powell. If we're talking right now, 100%. He's not better than Powell.
And the only reason he got drafted where he did is because he's so young and he has the potential.
Exactly. Then Jay Scrubb, who is a JUCO player. I mean, you're going to draft a JUCO player over a Big East Player of the Year? Like, no disrespect to Jay Scrubb. He might turn out good, but he was in JUCO. Yeah, I mean, come on. He's in JUCO.
The Big East was at least...
It's ridiculous.
For me, the best conference in college basketball last year. And nobody can tell me otherwise, because there was, you could argue, 1 or 2 teams that were pretty easy, weren't even easy victories. You could argue there were 1 or 2 not great teams, but every night in the Big East, you were facing a competition. You were never walking over a team in the Big East. And every night, Powell was coming out being double-teamed, and he still put up, on less efficiency, great numbers. So now if you could get him into an NBA system, we were talking about it on draft night, I totally think that he could step into a Lou Williams type role and maybe never get to that level, but he could get you at least 10 points off the bench if you give him the shots. And I just think it's really sad, the state of the NBA right now, that a 4-year guy, no matter what you do, will not get drafted. And I get he's a little bit undersized at any position. He's not a great defender, but he wasn't any slouch defensively. Like, he could hold his own against some great guards in the Big East. So I just don't get it. I think he's never going to be a star. He's not going to be a superstar in the league. But I definitely think that he can provide solid minutes, especially to a team like the Knicks, who, like you mentioned, have a hole at point guard right now. Yeah. They could use a scoring guard. I think it was a great move.
And I was going to talk about that right now. We talked about Powell and his accomplishments and players that were drafted over him that shouldn't have been. But now let's talk about his fit with the Knicks. How do you think he's going to fit with the Knicks? I know there's a hole at point guard, but I don't see Myles Powell as a point guard. He's a shooting guard. He's an undersized shooting guard. He's a Lou Williams. That's like, I'm not saying he'll be as good as Lou Will, but that's just his ceiling to me. He's Lou Will. We don't have a backup shooting guard right now. The Knicks don't. It's RJ Barrett. Damian Dotson is out Frank Ntilikina is the backup. I mean, our guards are DSJ, Quickly, Frank Ntilikina, and then RJ, but we don't have any backup shooting guard. So I think Myles Powell in New York is the best fit because he can get minutes right away. And he can make an impact similar to what Alonzo Trier made his rookie year, where they called him ISO Zoe because he was amazing off the ISO.
And even that Alonzo Trier comparison, as much as I like it on the court, I hate that comparison for Myles Powell because the only reason that Alonzo Trier is not on an NBA roster right now or no longer with the Knicks is because he was, by all accounts, a cancer in the locker room. And
he didn't pass.
Yeah, exactly.
Didn't play defense, yeah.
Myles Powell is not that. He's a great teammate by all accounts from all the Seton Hall guys. He's a hard worker. If you've never read Mike or Myles Powell's story, I would recommend you read about it because he has an incredible story. Coming from South Kent into college at Seton Hall, they used to call him Cheese. And they wouldn't call him Cheese until he lost weight because he was so big. He was so overweight that until he cut down weight, they wouldn't stop calling him Cheese. And he worked his way all the way up. His freshman year, he made an impact. Sophomore year, he slotted into the starting lineup. Junior year, he became one of the best guards in the country. And senior year, he was the Big East Player of the Year. So just like I said about Obi Toppin, you know he's going to come in hungry and work hard from day one. He's a good teammate. He can play his role. Yep. And I'm excited to see. I wish it wasn't the Knicks because I'm a Net fan. And I'll be rooting for him anyway. I don't hold ill will
both guys,
the Knicks, but
both
I'm
guys, Myles Powell and Obi Toppin, both from, Obi's from New York. Myles Powell's from the New York area. He's from New Jersey, from Trenton. But both of these guys, to play from New York is probably a dream come true. Play right there, close to your hometown. So I think that's another added boost for them. And while they'll probably work even harder since it's New York.
Yeah, and as much as it must have been disheartening to get drafted, I guess, for lack of a better word. There's a million adjectives to describe it. It might have been the best thing for him because he got to choose where he wanted to be at. He ends up at home in New York, close to his family. It'll be an easy transition with Obi Toppin, who they've been friends since college, since when they were younger, and I know they've been working out leading up to the draft process. So I think it's a good spot for him, and I hope he gets a shot because I know he has the talent to play at the NBA level. His offensive game, a lot of people just thought he was a shooter. He could score from all over.
He's a polished player already on the offensive end.
And he passed the ball pretty well last year. He played a lot of point guard for Seton Hall, especially with injuries. He had to step into a different role than he had ever taken. And he did a good job distributing, playmaking. So, he definitely expanded his versatility last year. And I think he's ready for the NBA.
Hey, what's up, guys? You just finished watching a clip of the Pick a Side podcast. My name is Joel Moran.
My name is Jack Barteck.
My name is River Brown.
And we are your hosts for this podcast. We want to thank you guys for watching the clip. Like, subscribe, and comment, and share if you would care to, because it helps us grow. And we're trying to make this a full-time thing. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for supporting, and see you next time.